Welcome to Maritime SoftwareHub, the People Podcast. My name is Callum Beaumont, the founder of the show and also the founder of Callum Beaumont, which is the digital shipping recruitment agency that powers the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Arto Viitanen, who's the VP of Products at Seaber. We're going to dive into the topic of chartering and vessel operations and essentially how technology can facilitate fixing a vessel and giving ship owners in particular and charterers better insights into their fixtures and the kind of the positions open and how they can streamline that process. So Arto's going to go deep into what Seaber offers. We're also going to talk about the role of a product manager. I know we've done that on previous episodes, but I really enjoy hearing it from the kind of horse's mouth perspective in a way. Hear Arto's take on what a day in the life of a product manager is like. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do remember to follow us on the channels where you listen to the podcast. Subscribe to us on LinkedIn and also YouTube, and that'd be fantastic. All right, thank you. Hi Arto, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
No, you're very, very welcome. I think I can see some snow in the background. Is it snowing where you are in Finland?
Yeah, I left the curtain open just to show everyone the snow. There's a lot of snow this year in Finland. I'm based in Finland.
Yeah. No, awesome. Well, it's really nice to sort of to speak to you and have you on the show. So why don't you perhaps do an introduction to who you are and obviously your role at Seaber?
Sure. I'm Arto Viitanen. I'm the Vice President of Product at Seaber, and I'm responsible for it. We basically just have one product, so responsible for that product. And I've been working at Seaber since the dawn of the company for about 5 years now, maybe 6 already. And yeah.
Excellent. What was it that drew you into the maritime space? Did somebody approach you, or were you already connected to some of the Seaber team?
It was kind of random. I was working in the tech startup space for a long time. Had my first own startup in 2006, and then ended up working for a consultancy or digital product design company, and moved to the US, worked in Silicon Valley for a few years and built a network around there. And then I've been, since that, I was helping tech startups to make their first products, help with the design and the business aspects of it. So then I moved back to Finland a few years ago. I was looking for clients in Finland. I didn't really have any network left, and came across Seaber through someone I knew, and it was kind of like love at first sight, because the whole transportation system, global transportation system, is something that people don't really, or like normal people don't know the details of it. So when you start learning about it and you kind of understand how huge and important it is, it's very exciting. So it immediately drew me. I continued having other clients for a while, but then I decided to join the company and try to build this ambitious product that we have. So that's the short story. I think I'm going to stay in the shipping world.
Great.
Even whenever this ends, who knows? Maybe it never will. But yeah, definitely, I'm into shipping now.
How did you find those initial kind of early couple of months or so learning the kind of the language of shipping and getting used to the maritime industry?
I think it was like day 5 when I started that I was brought to see a ship owner, like a sales meeting, or trying to formulate what the product will be, kind of finding the first clients. And I kind of had to start understanding immediately, because the terms kept flying in. I bet I was Googling for different terms on Wikipedia or something, and obviously there was a very steep learning curve, because a lot of the terminology I didn't know beforehand, and the concepts and the way the ship owners and charterers work and all that. So, but since it was interesting and motivating to learn, it was very, very sort of easy to. And I also studied something called industrial management, which helps a little bit with this kind of like systems thinking and so on. So it was kind of smooth, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear people that from outside of shipping coming in, what their early few, I guess, kind of that onboarding period is like, and kind of best practices to try and smooth that, or get them up to speed as quickly as possible with the kind of the language of shipping. So it's great that you've obviously picked it up and really enjoyed it straight away, which is really good. Cool. Okay, do you want to give us a quick overview of Seaber's solution and your role there? It'd be great to hear a bit more about the company.
Yeah, so we haven't really, I mean, there was a pivot right when I joined like several years ago that we kind of changed the scope of it. But after that, it's been one product, and anyone that has worked in chartering or operations or ship owners in general, I guess, knows that there's usually a spreadsheet, like a scheduling or planning spreadsheet. So you have your stuff in the voyage management system, but then when you're planning when you're comparing market inquiries, the cargoes that you could get, and where you enter the COA cargoes and so on. So there's a spreadsheet for that, and I've seen a bunch of those. And we were thinking, or basically we're sort of trying to replace that spreadsheet with something better. Because when you're using something like that, where there's a lot of color coding and it's a bit clunky to use, you can't just drag and drop things around. So you need to have a pretty kind of strict protocol when interacting with that spreadsheet. So we thought we want to try to make that better, and that's what we've been working towards. So chartering puts in inquiries or sort of compares them against the spreadsheet, like where do we have capacity, which vessels need more cargo, could the whole thing be done a little bit better. So it's about that, around that. And then obviously operators need to update the ETA so that the scheduling spreadsheet is up to date. So that's a daily or ongoing sort of update practice. Then when you get a delay, for example, and you need to reshuffle the fleet a little bit, then doing that in a spreadsheet you will come up with a solution, but probably not the best solution if you have to do it in a hurry, especially. So that's in a nutshell. That's what the product is doing. So we're bringing data from all kinds of different data sources. We try to automate the data flows so that the user can simply manipulate the schedule, move things around, also get suggestions for what can be done better or what to plan next, and those kinds of things. It consists of a timeline view where you see each vessel and the schedule going forward, and we check all kinds of restrictions then obviously for previous cargoes and vessel cargo compatibility and so on in the system. So it's all being kind of handled by the system.
Okay, no, interesting. And I guess you mentioned the one sort of core product there. Where do you, this is putting on the spot a bit here, so I apologize, but I mean, where do you see the kind of the differences between Seaber's platform and perhaps someone like Vesson or the Signal Group, Shipfix, those sort of providers? Is there overlaps, or is there any key differences that you're aware of?
Well, there's very little overlap. Well, it depends on how you scope it. We are currently the biggest, or most of the ship owners that are considering us or have a contract with us are companies that have a pretty complex fleet, so like multi-parcel parceling voyages with loads of port calls and so on. So for that, there isn't really anything to assist in scheduling in IMOS, for example, and then the chartering side solutions where you sort of comparing your open positions against future cargo. That's also kind of limited in scope. So So knowing exactly what will match your fleet the best is a pretty complicated thing. You probably will need to end up using several different solutions to sort of gather the data, and then you run estimators in your voyage management system, and maybe you can sum up those in a spreadsheet to get an idea of what it means for the entire fleet. So yeah,
Okay.
we are kind of in our own niche, as far as I know, niche at the moment, with very little overlap with anything existing on the market. Then obviously we are bringing in some functionality that others already have. For example, getting the competitive situation, which competitor vessels might be competing for the same cargo, and that kind of stuff people then use, for example, the single platform for. But so there will be more overlap in the future, possibly also in, or very, very likely also in bunker planning. So like kind of planning further into the future and taking the sort of bunker aspect into the fleet schedule planning as well, and optimizing for cost and the time spent.
So are your customers' fleets mainly kind of coasters, of barge type of vessels, up to sort of handy size sort of ships, or do you also cover slightly larger ships as well?
Well, we have all kinds of different ship owners as clients, but the two segments that are well represented are chemical tankers that do parceling, like complex voyages and have a lot of technical restrictions, and then also on the dry bulk side, we have some kind of traditional dry bulk companies, but then also project cargo, break bulk of different sort, heavy lift, that sort of stuff, where you just, there's more complexity. That's where we're strong. We do have also ship owners that carry a single cargo on a voyage, but their value proposition isn't quite as strong. I believe we will, go to that segment as well in the future, but at the moment it's the more complex stuff.
Yeah. Okay. No, fantastic. Well, thanks for going through that. And I mean, the topic we're going to sort of call this discussion today is really about how kind of technology's impact on chartering, and I guess in a way how you can kind of elevate your vessel operations with technology. So you touched upon it already in your explanation of what Seaber does and the platform, but is there any kind of ways in particular you feel like technology is enhancing the role of a vessel operator or a charterer to make their kind of day-in-day sort of life easier? I'm sure there's lots. But
Well, I mean, there are many things in this. One is that when you have everything in a spreadsheet, then it's kind of hard to grasp the whole picture, because it's oftentimes your data is in a bunch of different spreadsheets, and you can only fit so much on the screen. So the way that we visualize the data is one very, very strong or important aspect of it. So we present the data in a way that it's easy to draw conclusions from it. So that's one thing. And through that, you can also then spot risks or problems, and obviously also discover opportunities in what you could do to make your fleet perform a little better from this perspective. And then we also provide suggestions. So basically what we do is that we go through all the possible cargoes that you could have, like market cargoes. We go through all the COA cargoes that you have coming up, or fixed spot cargoes, and then your fleet's sort of technical capabilities. And our algorithms sort of crunch all the different possibilities that you could do. Like, what if I swap this parcel from this voyage to that voyage? What kind of impact would that have? What if I break this whole voyage apart? Can I fit those parcels onto existing voyages? What is the extra distance that the vessels need to sail? What is the impact on port costs, port stay durations, all of that? So we can crunch through all that data and give you, for example, like in your fleet schedule the way that you have it now, if you swap this voyage between these vessels or these voyages between these vessels, that would save you whatever 400 nautical miles of ballast distance, and then immediately be able to give you an estimation of the profit impact on your fleet if you do that. Or here's a list of 200 market inquiries. Which of these inquiries would fit on your existing voyages, and which of these voyages, these cargoes, could be combined to a new voyage in an open position that you have? Those kinds of things. We can go through so many different permutations and combinations that for anyone to do this manually, it would be very time consuming, or practically impossible, I guess.
I mean, and then
we give a perspective on the entire fleet, whereas oftentimes you're kind of focusing on one vessel or one open position at a time, and you're optimizing for that. But then you kind of lose the perspective on the entire fleet. So maybe it isn't this vessel that you should put the cargo on. It might be another one that you just didn't think of or you didn't see on your screen. So that, and then workflow improvements as well. Jumping between different programs and checking things and so on. So it's so these are some of the things that we're sort of trying to address with our product.
Yeah, and you mentioned about getting the workflows of cargoes and I guess sort of inquiries. Where are you getting that? You don't have to tell me specifics, but do you get that information from partnerships with brokers or other data providers to get information about kind of, I guess cargoes out there that need to be transported somewhere?
Yeah. So we can read inquiries in from voyage management systems such as ShipNet or IMOS. So that's one way. But typically the cargoes aren't created. That isn't the first place where the cargoes sort of are created. Usually they go into some spreadsheet or something. So we can bring in those spreadsheets, just import them into Seaber, and you get everything. We have our own email parser. We are working with Sedna, for example, with their new product Pulse, to bring in the inquiries directly from there. We have also another partner for email parsing. So that's really a key for us to get the data in. So we provide all these different ways of doing it.
Yeah, great. Well, it's great to see the kind of collaboration and partnerships as well amongst the different vendors is so important. So it's really good that you guys are obviously very involved in that. And we haven't gone too deep into your role specifically on the product side. Do you mind giving us a quick overview of what a day-to-day looks like for a VP of products and what type of projects you're involved in?
Yeah, well, we're still a relatively small company. So I'm wearing many hats. I joined the marketing meetings. I'm in many of the sales calls. But really, what the sort of the core of my role is to try to understand what our customers or potential future customers, what their needs are, what can we change in the product, what new features can we build, etc. to be able to deliver the value that we want. So I spend a lot of time with our customers, and then I turn those discussions into tickets, and I oversee the development process as well. And obviously there's a lot of technical architecture discussions often involved in those. And I also do a lot of testing. If there's a new feature going out, we have a QA engineer, but he doesn't necessarily always he doesn't know how to spot the business data issues and that sort of stuff. So I do a lot of testing before things get deployed to production and that sort of stuff. So my days look very different, and sometimes I'm traveling and sometimes I'm bombarded with messages and so on. I really like doing this. It's product, so VP of product is very kind of central role. Most of the data that it goes through me somehow.
Yeah,
that is significant for the company.
Okay, and if we kind of stay on the topic of product management for the moment, I mean, for aspiring product managers or people that kind of either in a similar role at the moment, is there any kind of like tips perhaps or any guidance you can give them for success, maybe either specific to maritime or just in general the world of product management?
Yeah. I'm glad I got this question beforehand because it's it's a tricky one. But no, like the number one thing that I think is listening skills, because you end up talking a lot with different people. So if you're not the kind of person that can listen to other people and understand what they're saying, then this is probably not the right role for you. Because on a daily basis, I talk to sales, I talk to existing customers or prospects and developers and so on, and different partners for data, that I might be providing data or doing integrations for, so IT managers and all that. And you really need to understand what they're saying, because otherwise you will not excel at this. And that kind of also underlines that it's very multidisciplinary job. So you have to have some understanding of the technology, the psychology of the employees, of the users or their managers, and then the business angle of things, because commercial aspect is kind of very strongly present in some software, especially in our product, and business angle of the startup and so on, communication, project management. So you have to be not the best in class in all of those things, but
Yeah. Are there any basic kind of technical skills to learn, whether you're coming from more of a development route or even like a business analysis type of path? Anything you think is kind of really beneficial? Or
I think that's stuff you can learn. I mean, you if you join a company, you will then learn how it operates and what are the processes related to development. For example, writing a ticket for a developer to work on is something that initially you might suck at it. You've written a few and you've talked them through with the developers, you start to understand what you need to what level of detail do you need to go, and so on. And for product management, I think one thing is that you kind of have to be a little stubborn, because you're often the one that has the most holistic view of the product or the problem that you're solving. And you might get a really strong angle from somewhere, let's say sales or some individual at a client has a really strong opinion. So really it's because you're doing a lot of prioritization, like what do we do next? Which problems do we fix, or which new features do we develop, and so on. So you need to be a bit stubborn.
Okay, no, great. Thank you very much. And in general, how is this sort of the landscape for talent? I mean, I should obviously know this, probably maybe better for you, but like in terms of in Finland, for maritime kind of focused professionals, do you guys ever struggle with hiring in the past, or generally are there kind of quite a few people to review when you have roles?
Yeah, that's I mean, Finland has a lot of industry that is very dependent on shipping. So a lot of charters, pulp and paper, forestry industry, steel, things like that. So a lot of charters, but very few ship owners. So for us, hiring someone with a ship owner background in Finland is kind of tricky. So, and we don't share an office anyways. It's we have people living mostly in Finland, but in different places, and we're just home office 100% practically. So for us to hire someone from different parts of Europe is not a big deal. So we're definitely looking. It doesn't even need to be Europe necessarily if the time zones are sort of matching. But yeah, that's where we're
Great. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, we've spoken to Napa Group a lot in the past, and they most of the hires we've helped them with have been outside of Finland, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's having the kind of a very much a remote focused team with opportunities to meet up occasionally in certain hubs is so, I think, valuable. But also people do love to see people in the office occasionally as well. So you kind of like pros and cons really. Good. Okay, cool. Is there anything else perhaps you'd like to share about Seaber in particular, and anything we haven't discussed about the solution, or any other benefits at all we can run through?
Well, maybe the fact that we're a young company, and this is by far the most sort of ambitious product that I don't think I've ever been involved in. And the industry is obviously massive, especially we kind of focusing on bulk, particularly more complex stuff. But being a greenfield venture in this space, I know there has been some attempts to build what we've now managed to build in the past by some of the bigger companies. Is that we're really like. I'm so excited about our product because it's addressing a big need that a lot of people don't even know that there is a need for that, which makes it kind of tricky. Because for example, if you work in chartering, you might be completely happy with your spreadsheets. So it's a bit of a hard sell for our product to say that what, you could do this much better, and then obviously a little bit of friction there if you need to change your processes and possibly even your way of thinking. But I think Seaber is an important company because it's trying to address the sort of the weakest link of the shipping industry in terms of digitalization. So that's what I want to share.
Yeah, and you guys have got a great brand image. I mean, when I talk to candidates in the market, that type of thing each day, that it often comes up, Seaber, like, do we ever hire for a Seaber? Are there any opportunities, that sort of stuff? Because I think people in the industry know that there is a gap being kind of filled essentially by you in particular. So it's sort of, good buzz around you. And I'm really delighted to have you on the show. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if anyone wants to reach out to you and kind of learn a bit more about the platform, or have any questions for you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Well, probably LinkedIn message. I mean, that's that always works.
Okay, cool. Good. Excellent. All right, brilliant. And I guess before I let you go, I always ask everybody this, but is there any anything a bit more about yourself that you'd like to share, like whether it's kind of hobbies or perhaps a couple of things that maybe people won't know about you?
Yeah, I have 3 small kids. The youngest is 1 and the oldest is 6, so that keeps me quite busy. And I also live in an old wooden house that I need to take care of as well. So I have very little time for hobbies right now, but I do like to go mountain biking. I live in a small town, Porvoo, in Finland, and there's a lot of nice forest around that I can just jump on my bike whenever I have the chance. This time of the year is quite tricky though, because it gets dark so early that you don't want to go biking in the forest when it's pitch black. But sometimes I manage to squeeze a 45-minute ride into the lunch break or something. So don't tell my boss.
Yeah, no, great. Well, really interesting. And no, thank you so much, Arto, for coming on. I think unless you have anything else you'd like to share, I think that's brilliant to wrap things up. And if anyone does want to reach out to Arto, please do so on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he'll be delighted to speak to you. But yeah, cool. All right, Arto, thanks for joining.
So much. This was fun.
Pleasure. No problem at all.